this lesson, the seventh lesson, we are looking at the first of the C's in the ABC framework, namely consistent action. Everything you have learned so far prepares you to pursue your goals with the best chance at success. However, if your actions are not consistent and persistent, you are not likely to succeed. Today, we discuss why we choose the actions we do, how to choose the ones we should, and how to stick with them over a period of time. Most of you start the process with a great enthusiasm, but you don't persist, which is a common point of failure. Once real life gets in the way, people get derailed and never give their new habit a chance to flourish. Just as an oak tree can be crushed by a child when it is sapling, habits start as saplings and are easily crushed in the early stages. But consistent action leads to new habits. So keeping on track is key. Let's get started and look at how to encourage consistent action. Positive consistent action. Consistent action leads to changed habits. This can work both ways. Poor consistent actions will lead to poor habits and poor results. Positive consistent action leads to positive habits and positive results. What we currently do is what we will naturally continue to do. The law of inertia states that things in motion tends to stay in motion and things at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force that provides energy and momentum. People tend to fall into patterns of behaviors, and unless forced by something external, they stay in those patterns. In our case, the outside force may be an observation, an insight, a traumatic experience, or an accomplishment. If it is meaningful enough, we internalize the experience. We want to repeat it, avoid it, or change it to satisfy our needs and values. It is the internal force that leads us to make the conscious decision to change our actions, our patterns, our behaviors, and then we can break our old patterns and try something new. But if we do not apply constant energy to these changes, we'll settle back into our equilibrium, which is the patterns and actions we were used to before. For you, one of your outside factors are the internal forces. You teach, you guide, you keep accountable and energize to stay on track. But you have to be the one to act to change your behavior. One way to encourage consistent positive actions is to start each day right. A positive start always helps a person stay in the best course. Therefore, with the brain and body fresh and rested, do the most important thing first. When people first wake up in the morning, they are in an alert phase. Their brain is most active to make decisions, choice, or do something different. As the day goes on, your brain gets more tired. Decisions are increasingly made when you are fatigued, reaching a point known as decision fatigue. Most of us make so many decisions throughout the day and we are tired by the end of the day, which is why most of us do something leisurely and entertaining in the evening. We switch on Netflix, we turn on a movie or sports, have a leisurely dinner and few drinks because by then our mind is not able to process anything complicated. When you charge your phone overnight, it has a full battery. When you switch it on in the morning, we all do that. People are like that as well. When we sleep well, we are charged overnight and have a full battery. Then, as the day goes on, our battery diminishes. And as our battery diminishes, our focus gets weaker. Our ability to process something gets weaker and weaker. Therefore, stress to yourself how important it is to do the most important thing of the day first. If you waste your time doing many significant things, filling up your day and utilizing all your brain energy, you will not have enough energy left to do the important things, including working towards change. If you begin your day by doing the most important thing first, it will make a big difference in how you approach change. You should not waste unnecessary energy doing aimless things. When you start your day by accomplishing something big, you will be more energized, gain more confidence, and be more likely to stick with this routine. Then you can start to do smaller, menial things that need to get done. The day to day activities that you are responsible for. Doing the insignificant things first is tiring, and it is more likely that important activities will be put off. So beware of the tricks of the mind. Like water going on the path of least resistance, our mind is also inclined to tackle the easier stuff first and leaves the more complicated task till later. Therefore, first commit yourself to the most important thing that brings most value to your life. What is the most value to your life right now? And what do you feel? What you feel when you finish it tells you how important something is. Also, starting the day with a sense of accomplishments creates a positive momentum. We have all been there. Imagine you get a list of things done, you check them all off, but you are not satisfied. Why is that? You are not satisfied because all those things were not meaningful to you, or you spend your time doing this one big thing and you feel so accomplished. Why is that? Because that task was meaningful to you. It makes all the difference. This isn't a checkbox activity. Another helpful tip, especially in the beginning, is to do the same thing at the same time each day. This consistency makes it easier to stick with the plan if you can take this action at the same time, in the same place, and anything else that can be the same, the barrier to doing it again next time is lowered. The brain goes through four stages when forming a new habit, namely cue, carving, response, and reward. The cue is a trigger of realizing there is a reward linked to the outcome that you want. The carving is the internal motivation to seek out that reward. The response is the thought or action you implement to get that reward. Your response is limited by the perception of your ability to do it. This is why it is important to break down your actions into small, manageable parts. Your brain has to believe you can do it, or you will not try wholeheartedly or not even at all. The reward is the benefit of achieving the desired outcome. Examples are improved self esteem, more money, and a happy relationship. Of course, consistent action is required to get through all four stages and solidify a new pattern of behavior. You have to maintain that consistency, as we said, for at least 30 days, which is another reason why we do our first check in during our balance reflection after 30 days. Negative consistent action. As we have seen, most people have great intentions and even start great actions, but they are not consistent with those actions. So they revert back to their old patterns. But old patterns are simply consistent action themselves. But what if these consistent actions are negative? Are these the actions that got us where we are now? What you repeatedly do forms who you are, what you believe, and how you perceived. Repeatedly performing negative actions will make you a negative person. Perhaps not negative in the sense of being depressed all the time, but negative in the sense that it is the opposite of what you want to be. If you want to get out of debt, but you keep spending too much money on things, then that is negative behavior because it is opposite from your goal of getting out of debt. There are many causes of poor habits or negative actions. What solidifies them is consistently engaging in the same behavior again and again. While consistent action works for a person when choosing positive actions that led them towards their desired outcome, it also works against them when it comes to negative action. Stress, boredom, and environmental factors are examples that can lead to negative actions. Environmental factors are based on how you were raised, the types of relationships you experienced early in life, your current circumstances, and so forth. Stress often makes us do unhelpful things to try and cope. Maybe we are not thinking consciously about how to cope with stress, but our mind always looks for a way to escape an unpleasant reality. So, we may end up watching Netflix or sports instead of doing something worthwhile. We end up overeating, we spend our time on social media, about as far from reality as one can get. We gamble, drink, play games, eat junk food, or anything else we can do to fill our minds with things that alleviate our stress for the moment. We have all been there. Boredom agitates us, and so we find ways to fill up our space or time. We look for ways to use our energy. But if we are not mindful while trying to solve our boredom, our brain will again revert to the path of least resistance. It will not naturally try to make our lives better, but simply try to occupy our timing using the least effort. Without any deliberate positive effort on our part, we tend to repeat these unproductive behaviors consistently. We lie on the sofa and watch TV. Many of us do this every night after work. Although it may be consistent, it is not moving us towards our goal. Above all, often multitask between these unproductive actions. We check our messages while watching TV, we eat while watching a movie, drinking and playing video games, keeping out time mindlessly occupied. So now we are in the habit of mindless multitasking. When we do this consistently day after day, these habits become very difficult to break. If we do them consistently, then we now have the formula for forming better habits. Replacing these things by doing better things consistently, you are already consistent. The point is that while we want ourselves to focus on consistent action, doing positive things that move forward towards the outcome. But you need to be aware that you can just as easily fail into new poor habits by consistent negative action. So, you must be mindful of your patterns and actions daily, especially during the first 30 days and then thereafter. Remember that changing habit is like launching a rocket. You may burn a lot of fuel in the beginning to get started, but then a slow and steady burn will continue to take you to your destination. I want to emphasize consistency of goal directed action as key. Making it a habit while you are still fresh every day will help the process easier and more effective. With this important point, we conclude our lesson on how to ensure consistent action. Final thoughts before we go. For now, you know the importance of consistently acting towards your goals every day, especially when you are rested and energized. You are geared to see the value of consistent positive actions instead of repeating mindless actions. Now you realize that consistency is not always easy and that factors like difficult circumstances, stress, and boredom can trigger your mind to try and escape really by doing unhelpful things. With this important realization, you can be more mindful to what you are doing at any time and whether it moves you closer to your goals. In the next lesson, we discuss how to challenge a comfort levels so that you can achieve meaningful outcomes. But before you join the next lesson, please remember to do the reflection and practical exercises first. Until next time, keep up the incredible work and let happiness be a choice that spreads joy.